Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktavo, the parent company of InkSoft, Printavo, Graphics Flow, and Sign Tracker. Welcome to the webinar today. The purpose of the webinar is to just provide potential clients, existing clients, with just a broad overview of the platform so you can see how it all works and how it can solve problems within your business and improve your overall workflow in the apparel decoration and promotional products industry. And I know we also get some folks that are in the sign industry as well. And so the first thing I want to do is just kind of talk about the basic idea behind the platform and what InkSoft is all about. And then what I'm going to do is get into the specific feature set, and I'm going to be carving in some solutions and best practices and tips along the way. So this is a slide deck that I put together that kind of describes what InkSoft is all about. And you notice it says the all-in-one e-commerce platform for print, promo, and decorated apparel businesses. I think you could also make an argument that you could throw in sign shops into that as well. We have a lot of sign shops that use our tools, especially our online design tool, to sell signs and banners as well. So if you kind of want to get an idea of, how InkSoft is going to help you, it's been my experience that if you don't make it easy for your customers to buy from you, they have a lot of options, right? And so what you want to create is a kind of a seamless online buying experience. If you're accustomed to purchasing on Amazon, they just make it really easy to buy. And what we're seeing in today's marketplace is if you can't make it easy for your customers to buy, they can go elsewhere. So what we want to do is create that seamless experience. And as a result of that, you have happier customers, they stick with you. And they also do something really important, which is refer new clients to you. So you can have the greatest products in the world, but if you don't have an easy way to sell them to your clients, it's a little bit challenging. What is the problem? I always like to kind of talk about the difference between a generic e-commerce solution and something like an industry-specific solution like InkSoft. One of the problems that we run into is that generic solutions aren't designed for our industry. They're designed to sell things like candles and water bottles, not the subtle nuances and specific aspects of the apparel decoration industry. So here's a good example. If you were using, let's say, Shopify, and you had a Golden 2000 t-shirt in 20 different colors, and you wanted to offer a corporate logo on that t-shirt, you would be creating 20 different mock-ups in your application, your web-based e-commerce platform. You'd probably be doing that in an external graphics program, CorelDRAW, Illustrator, Canva, Placeit, something like that. And so there's that kind of time-consuming aspect of doing that. But if you're doing that in InkSoft, you'd use what's called the Rapid Product Creator. You'd have a product feed. You would just select Golden 2000. It would have all 20 colors. You'd upload a graphic. You'd select which colors are going with which color graphic. So colorways for darks, colorways for lights. Push a button, and it would create all 20 of those mockups. That's a pretty good example of what an industry-specific solution designed for apparel decorators is doing versus just a general e-commerce solution. The other thing that I think it's really important is the time that people spend building stores. We talked about that mock-up aspect, but that's a part of the process of building a store. So if you have all this extra work in terms of creating your mock-ups and you're not able to quickly scale and create stores, then you're probably going to be less inclined to do it. It becomes kind of a point of resistance for your company. Oh, I'm building stores is kind of a pain. But when you can easily and quickly build stores, it just becomes a natural course of how you do business. As a result of having positive experiences, most people tend to want to repeat those positive experiences. So one of our goals is to make it really easy for you to build and deploy stores. And what we see is a lot of folks, they're cobbling together multiple technologies. They have their accounting software, they have their shop management software, they have their e-commerce software, they have a mock-up creation software like a CorelDRAW, Adobe Illustrator, and they're kind of pulling this all together. When you're having to pull together multiple technologies to achieve a common goal, there's a higher training curve for your employees. And also, it's not always the most efficient way of doing things. So having more of an all-in-one solution, I think, is a lot more productive. If you think about how you operate your business, workflow for an apparel decorator is very different from somebody that's selling just generic products that are pre-decorated. You have the decoration processes. You have to be able to price based on imprint locations, number of imprints, number of colors. You have a lot of variables, including like price breaks and discount levels. And so being able to account for those nuances of apparel decoration is really important. And one of the things that I've learned is anytime you try to force a software to do something that's really outside of its scope, it hasn't worked out well for me. And I think I'm one of those people that, I was trying to find that one thing that does everything. And what I find by doing that one thing that does everything, it maybe does some things not very well. And as a result of that, I suffer. And I think one thing that's kind of neat about InkSoft is it does a lot of things really well. I don't have to, cobble together a bunch of different technologies to have a quoting, e-commerce, and online design experience. So generic tools are great if you have a generic business, but if you're running an apparel decoration business or promotional products business, you're going to be, I think, more successful and happier using a set of tools that are designed for what we do. We were the first. We were the first industry-specific e-commerce platform. And little kind of a bit of history. We've been doing this for 20 years. Is InkSoft did not start out as an e-commerce platform. InkSoft started out as an online design platform where we had a set of tools that evolved from a shop, and we decided to sell these tools to other decorators. And the initial set of tools was an online design application, and the e-commerce came later. And really what our goals were to help people to quickly and easily build and maintain online branded stores, process orders with integrated graphics and embroidery tools. That's a very important part of InkSoft, and that's one of the things that really differentiates InkSoft from other industry platforms and also generic platforms, because we started out as a graphics-driven platform. We've stayed a graphics-driven platform. InkSoft is a graphics software as well as being an e-commerce software. Another thing is we want to streamline your sales and production with tools designed specifically for the industry. So everything we do is tailored to what people are doing in this industry. And something really important is just centralizing all that order information so your team can work efficiently. And that could include orders that come in from e-commerce store or self-service experience like the InkSoft Designer, or even processing proposals, quotes, invoices. So, one of our goals is to make sure that you're not having to spending a whole bunch of time building stores. You can spend more time on more productive parts of your business. And I like to say, gain a little bit of life balance back. So how does this solution work? There's basically 4 parts to the solution. And the first part of the solution is involving sales, your sales channels. There's 3 different ways to generate revenue through InkSoft. Probably the most traditional way is proposals, which is InkSoft speak for quotes and invoices. A proposal is just a different way of presenting a quote or invoice. It's more of a web experience, a little bit more interactive. But at its core, a proposal is a quote or an invoice. Stores, most people are familiar with stores. You have a group that's going to be having a fundraiser. You create a store for them. The people that are involved in the group can go to the store, place their order, and we don't have to be passing around paper order forms with credit cards on them and have kids losing them on their way home from school, right? And then the designer, that's that self-service experience where customers can either upload their own artwork, they can interact with design templates and customize them. That's kind of that custom ink experience, as well as one of my favorite use cases is you creating your own designs and letting your clients edit designs that you created, which is a really neat thing. So anytime you have an order that's generated through one of those sales channels, it's going to go into your order manager. You've collected payment. Now you have it in the order manager. If you have to set up a rule to approve an order over a certain dollar amount, if you need to communicate back to the customer the status of their order or tracking details or things of that nature, your order manager is going to handle all of that. Then from there's going to be a handoff to production. That's where we're going to schedule jobs for production. That's where we're going to process purchase orders with your suppliers. We're going to create a production card. And the best way to explain a production card is you have 100 orders that came in from one store over a 30-day period. I can collate all 100 of those orders into all the different imprints that are required to get those out. So maybe there's 4 designs, 100 orders, maybe there's 25 per design. I can create 4 jobs to schedule to my equipment to get everything done. And then when I'm done printing, everything collates back into a single job for invoicing. So that's a pretty good, a broad spectrum of what we're doing on the production side. And then delivery. So we're going to coordinate pickup methods, shipping methods. We're integrated with ShipStation, so you can get a real-time quote by weight and dimension, what it's going to cost, send out automatic tracking, all those things. So sales, order manager, production, and delivery. InkSoft is designed to work with different components. And so one of the components that you'll see is the InkSoft Designer. That's that experience where you can go in and create that custom ink experience where customers can edit designs, create mockups, get a price. You also have InkSoft stores. You're creating e-commerce sites. You're getting rid of those paper order forms. You'll be able to manage group orders. And my favorite part, getting paid up front. Love that. And then you have your InkSoft proposals, which is your quoting and your interactive proposals to your customers, art approvals, everything in that nature. And that's allowing you to collaborate with clients on graphics. You can get back to your customers quicker because there's a messaging system built in. You look more professional. You can take a more proactive approach to sales. And then you can also organize your sales pipeline, keep an eye on what you have out, and so you don't forget to follow up with the customer to secure that sale. And then you get into the whole aspect of purchasing and order managers and the production. It truly is an end-to-end solution. Let's get into the application. The place that we always start in InkSoft when we initiate our first login is going to be on the InkSoft dashboard. And I think one of the unique challenges of any small business is just getting a general feel of what's going on in the business. What do we have out in proposals? What are we currently processing? How many jobs are scheduled? When are they scheduled for? What does it look like on the calendar? What is the volume that's coming through? How are my stores performing? The InkSoft dashboard is just that central location where at a glance you can get that high-level information about your business. And right here, I'm looking at all the different stores I have available that are still active and kind of what's going on in terms of the number of products in there, and then the sales performance data and when that store is scheduled to end. Probably the majority of InkSoft stores are going to run for a period of time. And then at the end of that period of time, they're going to close and the client's going to collate all those orders into jobs, get everything produced, and then either ship, pick up, or deliver. There are stores that people will keep open as what we call evergreen stores, where it's just open all the time. But most people are creating a store, they're keeping it open for a period of time, and then they're closing a store. And so let's say I'm working with a client, maybe it's a school group, and I want to create a store for them. Super easy to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on InkSoft Core over here. And InkSoft Core is going to automatically default to my order manager, which is kind of nice so I can see what's coming in for the day. And to create a store, I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to click on stores, and then I'm going to initiate store creation. And there's two ways to do that. Way number one is if I just wanted to create a store from scratch, I could just go over here and hit the old plus button, and I can name the store. Just go in here and name the store. I can go in and specify what the URL is, or let's say we're going to direct this to a web page for Central Boosters. If I have them set up centralboosters.org, they already have their website, and they set up a page /merch, I don't have to use the InkSoft URL. I can use their URL. And what's nice about doing it that way is that we handle the SSL certificates. So all the security stuff is taken care of, so you don't get this message on that store that says insecure website. We handle all that as well. So you're not forced into an InkSoft URL. You can use your own URL, and we see people kind of doing a combination of that. But once you have that set up, then there's a wizard-based, step-by-step wizard that goes through all the store settings, getting the store all set up, who the contact person is, what's the branding going to look like, store colors, are you going to include the InkSoft designer in there? So you can go through step-by-step and just use the defaults, or when you get done and you've made some changes, you can save that as a default. This is not the way I would typically create a store, because I've already created store templates, and I'm going to clone a store from a template. And that way, I don't have to go back through all of this stuff right here. I can bypass all of that and just go to an existing store and clone it. What does cloning mean? It's basically a synonym for copying, but it's a little bit different in InkSoft, because what we do in InkSoft is I'll typically create model stores for different vertical markets. And so, for instance, I have a model store for my corporate stores. And so I just have a simple store. It's got a banner, got the products that I'm most frequently going to be selling in my store. It's just a simple layout. Or I might have a store that is for signage, or a store that's set up for fundraising, or a school store. This is my starting point. This is a store that I cloned from another store. And the way I do that is I simply go over to stores. I pick the store I want to clone. And in this case, I have all these little quick store templates here. And I go to my quick store template, and I click on the little three dots over here, and I go to clone. And this is where we'd put in the store name and the URL, or we'd redirect to your own URL. But very important, include products and store art. So we talked a little bit about how important it was to be able to quickly and easily and rapidly deploy stores. Boy, there is no quicker way to do that than cloning and including products and store art. And let me explain why that's super important. Is in InkSoft, you create a catalog, and that catalog is all the products that you are going to be including in your stores. And so instead of having to search through tens of thousands of products, you can narrow it down. Maybe you're a big Gildan person and you're going to put your top 10 Gildan products in there. Maybe you're a big Adidas shop and you put your top 10 Adidas products in there. The reason you do that is so you don't have to be digging through all these products all the time to create a store or a proposal or quote. It's just your catalog. In this particular store, I copied my entire catalog in there. So this store has my entire catalog. I could have a different store that has just parts of my catalog, but I copied my entire catalog in there. And so when I clone this store, all the products will be available for me to choose in that store, but also I put artwork on those products. And by going into including product and store art here, actually we'll create one real quick. When I clone the store, I'm going to be prompted to replace art in bulk. So what's that mean? It means all the products are coming over, but also I have placeholder graphics. And so I have this graphic on all my wearables that might have screen printed merch, and I have this graphic on all my products that have embroidered merch. And so if I go over here and I say replace art, I can swap all these East Eagles designs with Central Boosters designs, and I don't have to do that individually for products. And this doesn't have to be limited to products. I could have maybe 4 graphics as part of that store. So I don't have to go and individually recreate the products and image location. All I have to do is say, hey, take graphic Eagles, replace it with graphic Cougars, and it'll do that for all my products. Super easy. And that also allows me to create colorways. And we'll talk about colorways in a little bit, but it's a super easy, fast, and productive way to deploy a store. And so I just wanted to show you bulk art replacement. So let's say you had a store and had a graphic, wasn't doing real well, and you ran a report and said, hey, this graphic's not doing well, but we want to put a new graphic in that. You can just go into your store and just replace not so great graphic with fresh, new, good selling graphic. So I'm going to go over here to products. Here's all the products that came over in this store. But if I go over to the store that I'd previously cloned over here, same products, but they just have the Central Boosters logos on them. I just did that in one fell swoop. I didn't have to do it individually for a product. Once that store is cloned, there's 3 areas of the store that you're going to be navigating through. And the first area is pretty easy. That's your storefront. That's just going to show you what the customer is going to see. Storefront is what your customers are going to see. The next area is what we call the style editor. This is where you're going to adjust the components in your store. And then the middle area here is store admin. And so when I was showing you that little wizard part, when you create a store from scratch and you pick all your settings, where all those settings are going to be is right here. These are just how you go back and change those settings. Maybe I wanted to change the store name and the landing page URL. Maybe I needed to add a new contact person to the store. This is the central person, my customer, who's going to be notified of specific activities that are going on the store branding. So what I did is I took the East Eagles logo and I just replaced it with the Central Cougars. Same thing right here. I've got notifications set up. I am going to click on this little notification right here, Save Design Notifications. So if somebody saves a design in my designer, I get an email saying, hey, this person was in your designer and saved that design. If I have specific policies that are beyond what the defaults are. So all the settings, here's the key point. Number 1 is every store operates as its own business. I could have 100 stores for 100 different customers. Everyone has different settings. They might even have different art in their designer. They might even have a different product mix, different contact information, different pricing rules. Every store operates as its own business. And that's partly why cloning is so awesome. Also, maybe you're not a super proficient web developer, or you have a person on staff, maybe they left and they've kind of been managing your website. You can make a really terrific looking homepage using InkSoft and not have to have any other software. It's not just a store platform, it's a web development platform. And so it can be your website. It doesn't have to be just a store. And the best part is, hey, maybe you guys have a really sophisticated website and you love your website, put a lot of juice into it. You can just embed InkSoft stores into your website or the InkSoft designer into your website as well. In this particular store, I've got the designer set up here, and I've got some categories and things I've added to the designer. So this is how we're going to configure that store. But the way we're going to actually modify is using the style editor. This is what I love about InkSoft. I've used lots of different web development platforms and store platforms over the years, had to learn how to use many of them in the course of my training experience with customers. And I can tell you right now, there's no easier way to edit and modify a store than InkSoft. They've really put a lot of energy and effort in creating this very simple user interface for editing stores. Anybody can do it. You can create a store very rapidly. When I'm in edit mode, what you're seeing here is components. Every one of these parts here is a component. And the shell store is always going to open up with this general navigation component. And that's going to be populated based on the logo that I created. So the colors for this store actually came from the logo. When I went in and uploaded the logos, it parsed out the colors from that logo and came up with this color theme. But I can change it. So if I wanted to use a different color theme and maybe use pink in here, I can make it pink, but I kind of like the red, so we're going to keep it red. Over here, this is a hero banner. This is a component. This is a fundraising component. This is a featured product component. Is added this yesterday. A 3-up component for 3 products across, a 2-up component. I put a little testimonial in there, some more products. So these are all components. This is a stock component that loads in every single store. I did not add my social media in here, but if I went to my social media settings, they would automatically populate in here as well. How do we get these components into a store? It's simple. I'm going to go ahead and delete this fundraising component right here. So we'll remove it. And if I want to add it, I just hit the little plus button. Here's my component library right here, all the different components. And maybe I want to use the fundraising component. So we come over here. I have a couple different layouts. Going to choose that layout right there. That component's now going to be at the bottom. Make a couple quick edits. Click on edit. Change the color of that component to, I think we're going to do navy right here. Here's all my goal setting for that component. So if I want to go in and set a new date from scratch, I would just go over here to goal setting. I'm going to set a financial goal of $5,000. I'm going to pay out a set amount per product. I'm going to go ahead and put a description on where the money's going here. So it's $5 from each transaction goes towards the travel fund. And I'm going to set an end date. And I'm going to push this end date way out into the future. So I'm going to actually have this one end at the end of the year. We're going to run this for the balance of the year. The important thing to recognize here is all of the editing for this particular component is going to be context sensitive. So depending upon what I have selected, it's giving me the option for that component. And I could put a fundraiser image in there as well. To reposition this, super easy. I can just hit the up or down arrows, but I prefer to just use drag and drop. And so I'm just going to go ahead and grab this fundraising component, and I'm going to drag it and stick it right under my hero banner right there. Hit done. That's how easy it is to create stores in InkSoft. One of the things that I really love about the InkSoft platform, I can use very simplistic store creation, but I can also utilize HTML code because we have what's called a content block. And if I select a content block, it's just an HTML editor. And if I have HTML code, I can just post it right in here. And all of a sudden, that HTML is going to appear in my web store. And I'll show you an example of that, because what I did with this particular store is I embedded the Graphics Flow art portal from our sister company into a page on this store. And the way I did that is just copy this HTML code from Graphics Flow. It generates the code, and I copy that in, and look at embedded HTML code. To get really crafty, you can have ChatGPT write your code or edit your code and paste it in there as well. That's how you go in and edit a store. And I'm going to return this store back to its original state, which I really liked. But let me show you how you'd add products. The way you're going to add a product is through what we call the Rapid Product Creator. You'll notice if I go over here to Store Admin and I go over here to the very top, here's my products right here, and here's my art. So all the art that I've uploaded to this store, which is a lot, is going to be stored under art, including my embroidery files. The other thing here is, where did this art come from? These are all designs from my Graphics Flow platform. I could just upload a piece of art here too. And if I upload that art, I can upload either a print file or an embroidery file. If I upload an embroidery file, one of the things that I can do is I can create colorways. And so it will actually read out the color changes in the embroidery file, and I can create a colorway and remap these colors in the DST file to create these variations, which is exactly what I've done. I don't have to bring it into an embroidery program because remember what I said earlier, InkSoft is a graphics program. And so it has the ability to edit graphics, create mockups, edit DST files by assigning new thread colors. But when it comes to product, I'm just going to go over here to Store Art, and I'm going to migrate to Store Products, and I'm going to create a product. So here's all the products I've created. They're already created. I can just add them into my store. Super easy. But I'm going to create something from scratch. So I'm going to go to Create New. I just added all the Adidas products from SNS into my store. I'll just add this golden t-shirt right here. So I'm going to add the golden t-shirt. I'm going to select it. I'm going to pick the graphic that I want to place on there. So we'll do this softball design right here. So I'm going to add that. And softball design looks pretty good. I can rotate it if I'm going to switch sides or do a left chest. Smart to do that automatically for me. So we'll just go back to full chest, get it positioned there. But I'm going to add another color. Color I'm going to add is going to be navy. And there's navy that's in the graphic. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the different colorways for the way the artwork is created so that they look the best on that particular background color. So that looks great on ash, but you notice if I switch to navy, but I have navy ink on a navy shirt, I think we can do a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is create a colorway. I'm going to go to View Colorways. And do I have one already set up? Well, that one looks good, but I think we can do something a little bit different. I'm going to say Create New Colorway. And all I'm really going to do is take this navy here, and I'm going to reassign it to a gray. And I think it needs to be kind of a little bit darker gray to really show up. So we'll keep going until we kind of hit the sweet spot. So I'm going to hit Done. I'm going to hit Save. So I didn't have to go to an external graphics program. I can just do it right directly in InkSoft. And these are vector graphics. I'm actually recoloring this vector graphic right in InkSoft. And so what I really want to do now is assign this color to the ash and assign this colorway to the navy. And then I'm going to hit Create. And then I'm going to hit Product Details. If I don't want to be specific to golden, I can just get rid of that. So I have some latitude on which shirt I pick. I can determine which color gets displayed first. I can put a prefix in front of my SKU. So it's easy to do a quick little product report just for everything that looks like CB. I can put my price in there. So we're going to put in $25. I've got bigger sizes, so we'll do some upcharges there. And I can disable sizes on a product level if I want to. And then I'm going to hit Finish. To add this product to my store, super easy. Just go to the Style Editor. I can replace a product right here. I'm going to delete it. We'll create a 2-up. And what I'm going to do is go to Manage. We'll add them both. So add this one and that one, but I want this one to show up first. I'm going to hit Done. And I want the background to be white. So we'll just make it white. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it up to the top. Super easy. Just take it from right here, move it as my featured product right there. And that's how you create and add products to stores. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Rapid product creator, the ability to process graphics, everything's component based. But if you want to, do some dynamic things, you can do HTML copy and paste into a content block. That's the basic roots of InkSoft is going to be your e-commerce and store platform. There's some other exciting things you can do too. And so I'm going to go to another store that I created and to kind of illustrate some fun things you can do with the InkSoft Designer. In my opinion, 3 use cases for the designer. Remember we said earlier, the designer can be embedded into your website or it can be embedded into any InkSoft website or InkSoft store. It's up to you. And remember, every store operates as its own business. So you can have different settings, different art, different everything. And this store has kind of got a unique use case because the only art that I'm making available in the InkSoft Designer is art that I created specifically for East Eagles. I'm not making any additional art available. And so if I go over here and click on this t-shirt and click on Design Now and go to Add Designs, it's just East Eagles designs that I've created. So what I'm doing is giving the school the ability to go in and just change their sport, or if they want to drop in seniors, and they don't have to look through a bunch of external art. These are designs that are just curated for the customer, specific to the customer, a pretty good range of artwork. These designs all came from our graphics flow platform. I did something kind of crafty. What I did is I directly linked to a graphic. I created this graphic. This is where I use that content block for HTML. And I just went and imported the graphic, assigned a hypertext link to the graphic, typed in some text, assigned a hypertext link to this text. So if I click on this, it's going to go directly to that graphic so the customer can begin doing the editing. The other thing I did in this store is I limited the color palette. So the colors are only the colors for that school. I just wanted to showcase that you can set up your own custom color palettes. And if you want, you can just limit to specific colors. And we'll see that with our corporate clients. Maybe they want to be able to add the department to a hospital design, but they want to make sure the hospital design, when they add the department, they can't change the colors in that. You cannot change anything in here. This is the part I created in Graphics Flow. I exported it as a PDF file. I imported it into InkSoft, and all I did is typed in a new line of text and changed the text value to insert sport. Then I saved it, and then I created a new category, added it to that category, and it shows up under my art. Customer can come in here, they can change this to volleyball, but they can change this, and when they're ready to get a quote, all they're going to do is click on next step, and let's say they're going to put 1 in here. They get a price. Well, they're going to get hit for $24.82 because I set up a pricing rule for this store that says anything below 24 units is going to be at a higher price because I'm probably going to print it on my direct-to-garment printer. And I want to create an incentive for people to go higher. If I set up a rule that said minimum order quantity was 24, they'd get a message that says, hey, minimum order quantity is 24. I could set up a rule that said this product is $25, it's pre-decorated. But what we're doing is we're generating that price from the blank price that we're getting from the Sanmar feed. So Sanmar is feeding that pricing in our product feed. We're linked to 20 different suppliers, including Alpha Broder and Sanmar and SNS Activewear and Augusta Sportswear, Auto Hat, folks of that nature. So we're pulling the blank price, we're assigning a markup percentage, and we're assigning the decoration cost. And we're getting the decoration cost based on the number of colors that are in the graphic. So we're actually parsing that out. Now, let's say they come over here and they put 25 units in and they want to get a price. It's $9.44 because we're giving them a price break based on the quantity that they're ordering. But let's say they come in here and they go big and they put 200 in, they get a price. Now it's going down to $6.71. So that's determined by me. And I can do things like offer discounts when they get to a certain dollar volume. I can set up coupon codes so they can apply $10 towards a purchase with a certain set of rules. So I've got a tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of pricing. And then when they're ready to check out, they just go and get price, they add it to their cart, they check out. What if they're rolling along and they get to the final stage and they're not quite ready to place their order? They abandon their cart. In this store, I have it set up so I have an abandoned cart email sequence that's going to go out at 1 day, 3 days, and 10 days. So after day 1, it's going to send them a little email that says, hey, we noticed you didn't check out. Here's a coupon for 10% off and a link to your cart. And then I'm going to send them another message in 3 days and one in 10 days. What if they just save the design and they don't even get to the cart? I don't know if you guys remember, I set up a notification. So if they save a design, I get an email. So I have the opportunity to follow up with them. It's just a setting of marketing tools. What we see clients do with the designer sometimes is disable the e-commerce part of it entirely. They just let the customer go to the point where they save the design and they can't advance to get a price or check out. Just get to the point where the design is saved. The reason that customers do that is maybe they're selling Richardson 112 hats and they create a library of patch layouts and they pre-populate that onto a web page. So you have 6 caps with 6 layouts, let the customer go in and name drop the patch. Pretty straightforward thing. They save it, you get an email and it just says, hey, customer saved this graphic. So give you an opportunity to follow up and they can see exactly what their patch layout is going to look like on that Richardson hat. Because if I go over here and delete this, guess what I have sitting over here? I got patch layouts. So if I go over here, here's my cool little patch layout right there. Super easy to get that on a hat, do an applique, whatever I want. I've got the complete latitude to, make changes to products, make changes to colors. If I want to go over here and see what it looks like in a different color theme, customer can self-serve. Those 3 use cases for the designer, again, are being able to have that self-service experience where they upload their own artwork, get a quote, check out, the ability to go in and edit interactive templates like I just did with that patch, or create your own designs and lock them down and let customers only change one part of it. Once an order comes in, where's it go? That order lands in what's called your order manager. And your order manager is going to be the place where you just put some eyes on it. You can see all the orders as they're flooding in from your stores. And in this particular situation with the designer, I set up a rule that said any order that comes through the designer, when the customer uploads their art, I have to approve every one of those orders. It's not going to be visible in my order manager. Where it is going to be visible is over here, pending approval. And that way I can go and look at this order right here and take a look at the art. It looks pretty good. And then I can either approve it or reject it. Why would I reject it? Maybe the art is super low resolution and I need higher resolution art. Maybe it's something I'm not comfortable printing. Maybe they forgot to upload the art. Once it's approved, it's just going to go in the order manager. And then from here, I'm going to process it through production. And you notice this one right here is not paid. So now I can just go in here and manually log a payment. So I just go in here and just say, hey, let's add a payment, pay me with cash. Go ahead and click on continue, clear that balance. I could put a credit card in there, or if I had their bank details, I want to do ACH, record the payment. So now that's paid. At this point, I'm just going to walk the order through production. Really, the next set of steps would be to go in and set up the purchasing. So I'd go down to my purchasing section. It would show me all the products that need purchasing. I can place a single purchase order for all these Golden products. Just add that to a PO. I can check in products as completed, partial check-in, super easy way to manage your purchasing with your suppliers. It's collating all the orders. So everything that came in from Golden 12,000s and Navy is going to all be together. And from there, what I'm going to do is once it's purchased and once it's checked in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down here to production and I'm going to look at all the different production jobs and I'm going to schedule these and convert these over to a job. So I'd say create job. This is how I'm going to run it through my production cycle. The way jobs work is job is tied to the graphic in the imprint, not the product. So you might have 3 different styles that have exactly the same graphic on them. I would assign them to a job. And once I have it assigned to a job, then I can schedule them through production. I have job statuses. I can get it onto my calendar. This is how you're going to walk it through production. Then when you're done walking it through production, we have integrated shipping. If it's going to be a pickup, we can do all the pickup notifications. If it's going to be shipping, we can get different quotes using ShipStation from UPS, from FedEx, DHL, US Postal Service. We're going to process all your shipping labels. We're going to handle it. It truly is an end-to-end solution, taking the entire workflow of the order and processing it through from top to bottom. We saw how it worked with stores. We saw how it worked with the designer. But the last part of the way that we would process an order is through InkSoft proposals. And so I'm going to go over here to proposals. And here's something really important that we're going to talk about. If you create a store for every one of your customers, they have an account. If you do proposals or quote or invoices through InkSoft and that customer is linked to that store, that customer can go into their account. They can see all the orders that were placed through their store, all the orders that were placed by me by invoicing. So they have a record of everything that's going on. Let's actually go into a store real quick. If I go in here and I'm logged in as a customer, I can go to quotes and invoices, see if I have any outstanding quotes. Here's my orders that are processing. There's one that canceled. If I want to initiate a reorder, I can go and initiate a reorder right here. If I choose to. I can see all the art that has been uploaded to my account. Can't download it. They're just tiny little thumbnails. Maybe I want to go re-edit on one of those designs. Here's a link to my designs. I want to go in here and, go and maybe change this design right here and change this to soccer. That's what they're able to do in their account. The reason that these orders are showing up in the account is when I did a proposal, I linked that proposal to that store. When I create a proposal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a customer, and that customer, I'm going to link them to the store. I'm going to go over here and say, create proposal. I'll name the proposal. We'll call it Central Boosters. I'm going to select customer, and we're going to type in Bud here. He's linked to that store. He's automatically linked to the store because he has a user account from that store. So I don't have to link him because he's already linked to that store because he checked out of that store and he has a user account. Then what I'm going to do is I'll put in purchase order number, and I'll select an expiration date because I want this quote to expire in 30 days. I'm going to put in my in-hand date. It's got to be out the door by the 19th. We're going to automatically calculate tax rate because we're integrated with TaxJar. Just going to look at the shipping address, put the tax rate in there. Payment, you have to give me at least a deposit to get started. I'm going to need 50%. And you can pay me the balance 10 days after you approve it. Let's add a product. So we're going to add a product, and we'll add that design that I already built out there. Let's do it navy. We put the quantities in there. I'm going to add it to my proposal. And here's the pricing. This was a pre-decorated product I already had in my store, so it's going to pull that same pricing. If I created it from scratch, I'm going to tell it it's going to be a screen print, 3-color. It's going to automatically generate my pricing. Then I can go back in and edit that pricing. And if I want to pad my margin a little bit, I can just go in here and override the price. So maybe I'm going to put about another $1 on there. I'm going to save that proposal. And the way I'm going to get that over to my customer is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say customer view, and I can send them a good old boring invoice view or a quote view. I can do that, little approve and pay, so they can click on there to pay. But there's a better way to do that. And the better way to do it is to actually send it as a proposal, because this proposal is linked to the store. And so it's going to pick up the store branding and colors, and it's going to create an interactive experience. And Bud can go in and look at a bigger view of the product, or if there's multiple views, he can do that as well. And when Bud goes to hit approve and pay, guess what? Here's all your payment. Maybe Bud decides, yeah, I'm going to pay for the whole thing right now. And we're going to pay by ACH. They put in their information. I get paid. Everybody gets notified. And that's exactly how we do it. Proposals is really that third channel for processing orders. It is an invoice and a quote, but it is also something that's, I think, more interactive and engaging than just a boring old QuickBooks looking quote. Payments are integrated into InkSoft. Payments are also integrated into Printavo. So that's part of the software. You can see all your reports. You don't have to do reconciliations. That's all handled through the platform. But I'm going to show you something kind of neat. Now we have integration. So we have many, many customers that use Printavo, our shop management solution, and they also use InkSoft, which is our e-commerce solution. They also use Graphics Flow for creating graphics. That's where these graphics came from. Any order that comes through any of the sales channels is automatically going to go into Printavo. So this order right here, I'm just going to say send to orders, and it's going to be sitting in my order manager. It's been sent into Printavo to schedule for production. So Printavo has a much more sophisticated workflow for scheduling and processing orders. What this is indicating is that the order's been sent to Printavo and is scheduled for production. If I go into this particular order over here and I go to Printavo, I can look in my store in Printavo. I would go over here to storefronts, and here's all my link to InkSoft stores. And this particular store is that CM store right here. Here's the order right here. If I had 100 of these, it would collate all of those into a single invoice. So I'm just going to go over here and add that to an invoice right there, customer. And now I can schedule it for production in Printavo and just walk it all the way through. Here's my order. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go and update some of the production data. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to choose to print this. I'm going to go ahead and mark it for screen printing. This is really important because I made the call as to how I'm going to print it once I got over here, because this might have been a 12-piece order. I'm going to put it on my DTG setup, or maybe I have a stack of transfers that I had made with DTF. So once we have this established, then I can walk it through production. And so here's all my production statuses. If I go over here and I go and set this up and say in production, as we've gone through all the production statuses, then what I can do is add it to what's called my power scheduler. And so we'll add it to my power scheduler. I'm not going to put a date on it, but what I am going to do is 72 pieces, I'm going to put 120 minutes on there. I'm going to run that on my auto. So we're going to put that on auto number 2. The due date on this is what? Production due date's April 10th. If I had screen printing on that invoice and embroidery and DTF, it would allow me to schedule all 3 of those independently. So it'll split all the designs and production processes from a single invoice, so I can schedule them independently with the power scheduler. I'm just going to go over here to the power scheduler. So here's my unassigned auto 2. So I put that. So there's my 72 pieces that I put on auto 2. But you know what? I actually want to move that to manual 1. I got another job I'm running on my auto. And let's see where I have some dates available. So it looks like I got some time on Monday. Yeah, I got plenty of capacity on Auto 1 on Monday. I've only got 110 minutes used up of 420. So I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to put that onto a date. And I'm going to put that onto the 8th. I've got it scheduled. Or I can drag and drop it. So we'll drag and drop it in there. So there's my jobs right here. I can see everything at a glance in terms of where it's at in production. So what we're doing is we're taking that general flow of the order, that's all the production steps in Printavo, and we're splitting them off into the individual production steps for screen printing or DTF or DTG. You notice if I go down here to embroidery, there's a separate set of steps. And what I love about this part is this. Maybe I'm in the screen room. My only job is just making sure the films are printed. I can set up a view, so I only have to look at the things that apply to me. Receiving, they've even got more work to do because they haven't gotten the blanks ordered. So it's just a really easy way to organize your work, make sure your equipment's booked at maximum capacity. And when I'm all done with this and I finish the whole thing, is I'm going to take this order, I'm just going to move it back to InkSoft to ship it. I'm just going to say mark is ready to ship. It's back at InkSoft. There it is. And just process it through like any other order. Completely seamless. Typically what we see is people will get to the point where they're processing a large volume of orders that have very specific production workflows for embroidery or DTF or DTG or sublimation. And they need a more granular approach to managing their order processing, getting things scheduled to the equipment. And now you have the best of both worlds. You have the very powerful, automated, simplistic functionality of creating great looking stores in InkSoft. And you have all of the power of Printavo on the back end. When you become an InkSoft customer or Printavo customer, you are going to go through an onboarding process. That's when we're going to talk about what products we want to add to your catalog. We're going to talk about your pricing logic, how you want to price things. We're going to help you to build your first store. You're going to have a CSM, customer service manager, assigned to your account. That's your point of contact. So if you have questions, you'll be able to have a live human being you can talk to. We've got great training resources, including our Printavo University, plus all of our massive archive of training videos and our YouTube channel as well. That's what I wanted to cover. Again, thank you for joining us on the webinar on InkSoft, and please be sure to visit us at inksoft.com.